Welcome, everyone, to tonight's live session of Capital Conversations. I'm your host, AJ Smith, and I'm so excited you're here to join me for another insightful discussion filled with actionable strategies, expert advice, and the real-world insights you need to thrive in real estate and in business. Before we dive in, a quick reminder, I go live every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central with a brand new guest or topic. So if you're looking to build wealth, learn from top entrepreneurs, or scale your real estate portfolio, this is where you should be. Tonight, I'm thrilled to introduce to you Jason Cousineau, a multi-talented real estate investor and entrepreneur whose journey is as inspiring as it is diverse. Jason's career has taken him from running a painting company to building an impressive real estate portfolio that spans multifamily, self-storage, and salon suites. Along the way, he's launched Brew Borrow Capital, a lending platform connecting accredited investors with real estate operators, and founded the Quad Cities Commercial Real Estate Meetup, growing it to an incredible 181 members. Jason's expertise in value-add strategies, creative financing, and building strong partnerships makes him a standout in the industry. Whether you're scaling your portfolio or refining your investment strategy, you'll take away powerful insights from tonight's discussion. So here's what we'll cover: how Jason built a diverse real estate portfolio across multiple asset classes, some lessons he's learned from the meetup that he grew and growing a strong network, insights on connecting investors and operators through Brew Borrow Capital, as well as opportunities in the current market and advice for taking your investments to the next level. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and get ready to learn from one of the sharpest minds in real estate. Without further ado, let's welcome Jason Cousineau to the show. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, man. AJ, happy to be on with you, buddy. Good to see you.
You too. I know, I think we met up actually at the Quad Cities Commercial Real Estate Meetup. So I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just probably 12-ish short months ago. So it's been crazy. And I know we've gotten together for a couple of lunches. You introduced me to my new favorite spot to grab a burrito in town. Especially you thank for the buck for that spot, man. That was so good. Is it La Finca? Is that what it's called?
La Finca. Shout out La Finca.
So good.
Well, Jason, let's just start with your story, because I know it's been a wild ride. I'm sure I've only heard a part of it, but would you just share I know you started with a painting company. Let's start there.
Yeah, so I guess quickly, high level, originally from Canada, got a baseball scholarship down here to the Quad Cities, and then met my wife my second year while in school. And my junior and senior years in college, I launched a college pro painting franchise. So I hired college kids to paint exterior homes during the summer months, and then I would do all the marketing pretty much January through the end of the school year to line up projects so that we had houses to paint in the summer months. And so went pretty well. I enjoyed it. Kind of been in construction my whole life, so it was kind of a natural fit for me. Definitely wasn't getting A's and B's my junior and senior year. I was more focused on the business side of things and growing my skill sets there, and making some pretty good money too. So anyway, I'll tell that story another time, but how school ended up. But after I graduated, I decided to open up a local painting company here in the Quad Cities with a good friend of mine who happened to also run a college pro painting franchise up in Aurora, a suburb of Chicago. And so we teamed up together, me, him, and another friend. We originally started painting just the exterior of homes, and then we slowly moved inside. And then 3 to 4 years into the journey, we made a pivot from residential to commercial. And that's really when the business started taking off. So, but yeah, about 3 years ago, my ex-painting business partner now, he bought me out of the painting business. I also recently exited a marketing and advertising business that I was running as well for about 8 years too. And I kind of pivoted towards real estate and investing in real estate from those two businesses that I was running. And that's really what we're up to and what we're doing now here today.
So we'll get to the real estate, but I want to backtrack a little bit, because I feel as though it's probably pretty likely starting and eventually exiting those businesses taught you a lot of skills and maybe gave you some connections that were super useful in real estate. So I'd love to dive into that a little bit. Could you speak to that for us in terms of that sales background, entrepreneurship background? How would you say that influenced you as you eventually moved into the real estate space?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just good sales training. You know, I mean, everything a lot in real estate, I would say, is sales. I mean, whether that's having conversations with potential sellers, having conversations with partners, having conversations with vendors, heck, even contractors, right? And trying to maybe, find a reasonable way to help get them to the budget number that you're working on, that you have for that trade, for that project, talking to lenders as well, especially when you're getting started out, right? I mean, you kind of got to fake it till you make it a little bit and just kind of get a lender on your side and to believe who you are. And so I would say the biggest thing that I took away from my professional career before I got into real estate was just having many reps and many different conversations, and just, learning how to mirror, understanding that, it's a two-sided approach where, you're not just looking at the conversation from your point of view, but also looking at it from the other person's point of view and trying to figure out what their goals are and trying to figure out a way to obviously work together, dealing with objections, all of those things. But I would say that, the biggest takeaway would probably be just a lot of sales experience and just having a lot of reps under my belt, 15 years, whether it was meeting with homeowners, selling, paying jobs to them, working with different general contractors and selling our services to folks that were renovating schools or doing new ground up construction. And then on the marketing and advertising thing, I was meeting with 8 to 10 different business owners a week trying to sell advertising in some niche publications that I had. And so with that, over the course of 8 years, there's just thousands and thousands of conversations that I've had. And so I was able to develop a lot of reps, which I think has really helped me, especially growing the suite. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I know about this time last year, I was cold calling owners and I got in probably 500 reps over the course of a couple months. Past week or so, I've cold called about 400 people. And so I totally understand the reps part. You just kind of get into the groove and you get I wouldn't call it a script, but you get a feel of how the conversation flows.
But I think that like a bigger thing too, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, and the amount of calls that you're making too. It's I think a lot of times folks, whether they're reaching out to sellers, I'm speaking more to, real estate here. I feel like a lot of people are kind of trying to focus on finding the yeses and trying to find the sales versus like celebrating the amount of no's that they're getting and like the amount of work that it actually takes to find the yes. And when you kind of flip that and not focus on the yes and kind of backtrack your numbers and understand how many no's it takes till you get a yes, it makes it a lot easier between your ears. And it's like, all right, I just got another no, check another one off. I'm that much closer to getting my yes, right? And so to me, it's all about, yes, got another no. All right, let's get another 5 more, and then eventually I'm going to get a yes, right? And so just having a lot of reps in sales, you kind of learn some ways to kind of trick yourself to continuing to move forward, because as anybody knows, in sales or in business in general, it's not a smooth linear ride. It's very much up and down, and how you take care of this up here is really important.
That's a great mental trick. And when you're looking at, I read a book called The 4 Disciplines of Execution, and they talk a lot about lead measures versus lag measure. So how many times am I performing an action that's going to lead me to my eventual result rather than focusing on my eventual result? And that sounds like what you're talking about.
100%. Yep.
So with the transition into real estate from sales, what was that pivotal first deal? What did that first deal look like for you?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot, maybe many folks that get into their first real estate deal, especially on the commercial side, I was able to develop a relationship with the seller of a self-storage facility. And they ended up carrying back 25% of the purchase price for us. So we were able to find a local bank here in the Quad Cities that lended on the other 75%. So yeah, it was a great first property to get into. It cash flowed from day one. And what's interesting is what got me into it. I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, to be honest with you, 4 years ago. I'd always wanted to get into real estate, and I knew what I was paying Uncle Sam at the end of each year with, the businesses that I was running. And my financial advisor, who also owns a lot of real estate, we were just sitting down, catching up one day, and, he just told me, and he was like, Jason, you're really income heavy and asset light. I was like, what does that mean? So he was politely telling me that I'm a moron for paying too much tax every year and I wasn't investing in any real estate. And that's really when the light switch went off, And so I started reading, Kiyosaki books, Robert Kiyosaki, and, just went on an information journey where I was, bigger pockets, this. And listening to podcasts every free minute that I had. And eventually I was just like, you know what, I got to get into that. And I, combining my experience with construction and then marketing and advertising, especially now with what I'm doing with the suites, it was just kind of a natural fit. So the self-storage facility that we got was a 65 door facility that we bought for $420. We're actually marketing it and selling it right now. I believe we're asking $615. We've gotten some appreciation in rents over the past year and a half since we've owned it, but it was a good first property to get into to kind of start learning the lay of the land and having conversations, with tenants and developing a CRM and all those good things. So it's been good.
So it sounds like you built the relationship with the seller. The seller carried back 25%. The bank financed 75%. So you were out of pocket basically $0. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Huge. So that was your first deal. What did it look like after that? What was the next one?
Yeah, so we got an 18-unit multifamily property in Aledo, Illinois. It's really strange how we came across it. I just was scrolling through my Facebook feed, and I'm not active in many like large real estate investing groups that are out there, but for whatever reason, it popped up on my feed, and I saw this gentleman wholesaling the 18-unit that we bought in Aledo, and he lived out in Pittsburgh. And so I believe what happened was one of the owners, they were both old and one of them passed. And so I think he found their information that way, and he got it under contract. And I think he was asking like $5 and change for it. And so anyway, he wasn't very ethical, we came to find out. And so we actually let the contract that we had with him go to the wayside. And then we went directly to the seller. He was not, I don't want to share too much of the details about all the things that he was doing, but he wasn't doing a good job representing the seller and how he was approaching us. And he was very much not coloring in the gray very nicely with both sides. And so we backdoored away into figuring out who the seller was. We were able to get into a conversation with them. We feel like we did everything on our end very ethically and waited till after we wrote a contract. And then the sellers did not renew their contract with the wholesaler. So we were able to come to terms with them, and the rents were extremely low when we took over. All the tenants, they had 1, 2, 3, and even a 4-bedroom unit in the apartment complex, and they were all paying $450 a month. And the owner was paying for all the utilities. So we gave the seller an option, which is a really good strategy too. We were like, hey, we'll give you, I think we offered $385 for it. But then we said, but if you bump rents up before we close $50 across the board, we'll give you another $20,000. And so we didn't want to take the property over. And it's in a tertiary market too, so rents are a little bit lower, and they still had room to raise, which of course we did. But in taking it over, we didn't want to bump the rents right away and kind of be, the new owner that's just coming in and driving up rents. So we allowed the current owner to do that. That added another, 18 times 50. I'm not a math major, almost $900 a month in rents. And that justified us paying another $20,000 on the purchase price. And so we ended up paying $405 for 18 units, which, was obviously a very attractive entry point. I think it was like $21,000 a door or something like that. And we ended up selling it for about $45 a door 5 or 6 months ago. So we no longer own that one. But again, it was good to, get into the game, own my first multifamily property. The deal was way too good to pass up. I mean, it was in a population center of 3,000 people, not actively looking for multifamily properties in that area. But when you buy it at that price point, there's money to be made. And so we ended up jumping in.
Yeah. It sounds like an opportunistic buy. You found this property that was off market. You saw there's a differential between what it's worth now and what it could be worth. You guys jumped on it, made the changes, and then were able to exit.
And that was our plan the whole time. So we weren't planning on holding it long time in the portfolio. It was just, hey, my 2 partners and I that got into it, that was our second purchase together. And we knew we wanted to buy a multifamily property, kind of get our legs under us in that realm a little bit. And so, yeah, we made some money on it for, about a 1.5 year hold or so. So it was good.
I have a friend who invests in the stock market, and when I was explaining to him what we do, I likened it to buying the dip. A lot of the times people in the stock market love to buy the dip, right? But it's kind of hard to time it. In real estate, what's really cool is you can buy the dip just right now based on what it's worth and what you can actually buy it for. So that dip is always there if you can negotiate it in. And that's kind of where we exist, is we buy that dip, we see the value, we add value. In terms of what you're doing now, did you buy another multifamily? Did you buy another self-storage, or where did you go from there?
I have not known. And so kind of as that was all going on, my partner, my ex-paying business partner and I, we agreed on a buy sell. And part of our buyout, he gave me the building downtown Davenport where my first Suites location is now open and operating. And so as I was kind of like thinking through what I was going to do with that property, like that's really where the whole journey with the Salon Suites started. And but my attention really went down that lane once I started understanding the model and what was possible.
Can you share a little bit more in terms of what are the suites?
Yeah, so the Suites is a Salon Suites business model. And so what we do at the Suites is we buy real estate and we renovate the property into a Salon Suites facility. And so it's very much a value add real estate investing strategy. And so what I learned from the 18 unit that I used to own, and again, that was a value add play as well. In going through that process, I learned a lot that I wasn't a really big fan of owning, like a C class type of multifamily property, just type of tenants that you have in there, the conversations you have to have, the reliability of rents coming in, just how folks take care of the property in general. And so I was kind of looking for a better value add play. And to be honest, and quite frank, AJ, I got very lucky stumbling into the Salon Suites business model. And so after my ex-painting business partner and I finalized the buyout, I was in that building downtown Davenport. I was going to create a shell so that a local restaurant or brewery would rent the building from me, because I knew it would work really well. It had a nice big barrel open ceiling. Could have carved out an outdoor patio on the corner parking lot. But as I was walking through the building with my architect, he asked me, Jason, we can definitely carve out a shell here and attract somebody, but he was like, "You ever heard of Salon Suite?" I was like, "Nope, what are those?" And that's really where it all started. And so he asked me that question, kind of told me what it was. And so for those of you that aren't familiar with a Salon Suite facility, essentially it's a building where you divide the property or the building into a bunch of smaller offices, and then you individually plumb each room. So beauty and wellness professionals can rent 120 to 200 square feet from you and then serve their clients out of that unit. And then they pay a premium to be able to have plumbing and everything that they need to service their clients in their salon suite. And so what I did when I was kind of in an information gathering journey, I guess, kind of learning about the Salon Suites business model, is I started stopping into other Salon Suite facilities here in the Quad Cities, in Milwaukee, and then in Des Moines when I was going up there for my events with my marketing and advertising businesses. And I would just ask some of the tenants in other Salon Suite facilities, how long they'd been there, what they like about it, what do they not like about it, and then really what light bulb moment, like, what are you paying a month in rent, if you don't mind me asking? And folks over and over and over again were paying $70, $80, $90, $100 a square foot to rent their space. So the math behind it, once I kind of penciled it out at that downtown Davenport location, that building, if I were to lease it to the restaurant or brewery that I was referring to earlier, my original idea, it would have rented for about $50K a year in gross rents, and that same building today does 150. And so we're essentially able to 3x the rents in the buildings that we're acquiring and building out when you compare it to what the normal lease rate would be if you were to rent it to another business otherwise.
So you're looking at a lot of people, even yourself, it sounds like when you're initially looking at it, you were thinking, what is the highest and best use of this building? And to the best of your knowledge, it was that brewery or restaurant, but you were able to find, it sounds like, another project that would 3x that, which is so impressive.
100%. And I don't think it's any, like, I was fortunate that my architect asked me the question, but then, I did work really hard, like trying to gather the information, stopping into other facilities. And I didn't just rely on the information here in the Quad Cities. I do it in Milwaukee. I did it up in Des Moines as well. And so, but I guess comparing it to like a multifamily or self-storage value add, if I were looking at a self-storage facility, like not only am I, looking at what the existing tenants are paying and what they could be paying and getting them up to a fair market lease and maybe making some improvements to justify it, but I'm also looking at, hey, how much open land do we have here? right? Can I put a billboard up in here? Like, you're always trying to look for the best use of the properties that you're buying for that value add play. And so it's not that I had anything against multifamily. It's not that I had anything against self-storage. If I find the right deal and it makes sense, I'm definitely going to explore it. But just for me, what my strategy is right now is to continue to focus my energy and effort on like one thing and continue to buy and develop more and more salon suite facilities. That's my value add play until we get to about 50 locations. And then from there, maybe approach an institutional investor that, wants to buy it, and then maybe jump back into the multifamily class and look for more like a class A type of property or type of development. So that's kind of my long-term vision right now, how I'm seeing things.
So how do you structure these deals? Do you do it in a syndication format where you have 20 people that are coming together and buying into the deal? Do you do it with a JV format where it's maybe you and a couple people? How do you structure it from an investor perspective?
Yeah, so right now, as we're getting into other markets, I partner with other real estate investors across the Midwest and really across the US. And then we go 50-50 on the business and then on the real estate as well. And so myself and then the real estate investor in the other market would be the two Class A members. And then we essentially sell debt financing for the capital injection that we need to get the project off the ground. So we don't offer equity. We offer a higher pref return of 12%. And I know you and I have had conversations about this. I remember our last lunch, we were talking about it. And I just think that, I understand that, especially at higher numbers, higher price points, that, more of a typical syndication model is probably warranted, where someone's bringing 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is to get the deal to the finish line. Like, I get it. But for our projects, we're typically raising 300 to 400 to 500,000 for each of our projects. And there's just a lot of folks, a lot of very successful business owners that do very well. They don't have time to focus on, calling sellers and finding their own deals and managing contractors and renovating properties themselves, or they've done it and they didn't like the experience. That's another side too. And when you present what you have going on and let them know that their money is backed by the real estate that you're buying and you're offering a 12% return, most folks, all that they can compare it to is the stock market, right? And the historical return of the stock market is, 8 to 9%-ish. And then your fiduciary or financial planner's going to take normally about a 1% fee off that. And so a lot of my conversations center around just having a talk just like that and just kind of laying it out and just saying, hey, like, what are you doing with your investments right now? And like clockwork, they say, yeah, I've got my financial planner, Mike or Susan or whoever it is. And it's really a pretty easy conversation when you just kind of say, hey, yeah, so the historical returns are X, we offer 50% more. It's a fixed return, so you know what you're going to be getting. And your money's backed by the real estate that we're purchasing. Oh, and by the way, the bank is going to be financing 75 or 80% of the deal, and they need to get a third-party appraisal to justify the value. And so your money is going directly into something that a third-party appraiser says it's worth this. The cash is always there. And so anyway, it's a pretty simple conversation. And so like, one thing I always try to lead with, especially when I'm talking with newer investors, is to try to get them to hold on to the equity, because if you're able to maybe work a little harder, of course, by not giving up as much, it's going to take more reps. But in doing that, and just like you said, making 400 calls, 500 calls, however many it takes, going through all those no's, those first few properties, that equity that you hold on to is going to like catapult you and your real estate journey by like 10x. Because that equity chunk over time means a lot.
And speaking of catapulting and kind of what I think of when you mentioned, right, maybe 300 to 500,000 for a project, that could be 3 to 5 investors at $100,000 each. When you are offering these deals and you're performing and you're executing and you're actually giving them the returns that you're telling them that you're going to give them, oftentimes those people become repeat investors, and they might have more, they may have friends, and it becomes easier and easier at that point. It's just a matter of executing on what you said you're going to do. And so it seems as though
It's funny that you say that. I just got an email like an hour ago from one of my investors, and he was like, Jason, I'm looking at 2025. You got anything else cooking? And it's like, yeah, they got a couple opportunities. I'll send them over to you tomorrow. So
nice.
yeah, it's like you develop a relationship and a rapport, and 12% return is really strong, especially when you don't have to worry about anything. So yeah, it's completely passive. It's true mailbox money.
Right. And I think that there's kind of a distinction to be made there, because I think a lot of people get into real estate, especially when they're buying maybe a duplex or a fourplex, and they think passive income. And when you are managing it yourself, it is not passive income. It's very active. You're buying a job, essentially. And so in terms of actually passive, there's a few ways to do it. Debt, being on the kind of the debt portion, is one way to do it. Being a limited partner in a syndication is another way to do it, where that is passive. Someone else is doing the work for you. But in terms of actually owning the real estate and operating the real estate, that is not a passive form of income. That's something you actually have to work for. And so I think it's really cool that you offer that to folks in a way where, like you said, it's backed by the real estate, and it's actually kind of an alternative asset, even in terms of real estate itself. These are projects that aren't, not everyone's doing Salon Suites. It's more of a specialty project, specialty item. In terms of the commercial real estate meetup that you created, I'd love to chat about that a little bit, some strategies, some lessons. Can you just dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had one in 6 or 7 months, so I guess I'm not sure what strategies you want me to share or talk about.
I would love to chat about, just in terms of, when you initially created it, what was the thought process and how did you go about growing?
Yeah, so my partners and I enjoy talking about real estate just in general. Like, I enjoy conversations like this. I enjoy having a chance to rub elbows with other people that are doing a lot of deals, seeing how we can help each other out, share resources. I was just texting with someone a little bit ago too about some contractor flex space that they're going to be developing. I'm developing some too. And, I just asked him, hey, you got a good site prep contact, and shared him over. And then he called me right away. So we were talking, and it was like, hey, what's your vision for this? How are you going to execute it? What sizes are you looking for? And so I love having conversations like that. And so that was the vision behind it. And I do enjoy helping other people as well. I think what has gotten challenging though for me, especially in this phase of where I'm at with the suites, where I'm wearing every hat. It's a season of where I'm at in my business. It's difficult for me sometimes to not be working in the business. And I know I need to be working on it too. And it's hard when everything's kind of coming through me right now, but it's just where we're at in our business life cycle. And so with all that said, there's a lot going on, and I also have a young family too, and they're growing up faster than I would like to admit. Time doesn't stop. I'd love to keep them in a bubble and keep them at the age that they're at right now, but that's just not how it works, And so we haven't had one now in about 7 months, and it was a difficult decision to make, but I think it was just the right one for me personally, just because I didn't have the bandwidth to be able to continue to do it right. I could have just shown up and gotten people together, but I didn't want to just get people in a room and not have my MC notes ready to go, not have a speaker lined up that was delivering value, and paying for the food and drink for everybody too. That takes work as well, right on the front end. And so I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed the conversations. I love that it brought someone like me and you together, but it was just a little bit more work than I wanted to put into it, I guess is all that I'm saying. And I just didn't have the time to do it. Something had to give. So that's, we haven't had one in a while.
Yep. Yeah, and I just bring it up because I know I got a lot of value out of it. I know I've met a lot of really cool people at that meetup. It was one of the meetups, I would say, where, it was very structured, and that's something that I really enjoyed. I knew when I came in, we were going to have certain topics we were going to talk about at a small table. We were going to have a certain speaker that was going to talk to us about some stuff. So I thought that was really cool. We did have a question in the comments here from Shay, and Shay was asking you, Have you started building relationships with institutional investors? And if so, how are you finding them?
I haven't proactively reached out to anybody yet, but I have had some conversations with a few folks that have reached out that run funds and are looking for new ways to park some capital. Thing is, when you get to that level and folks want to invest, $3, $4, $5 billion with you, they're savvy and they know what they're doing and they want equity. That's just not what we offer right now. And so a big piece of what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do for my partners as well, is I want them to get 50% equity. And of course, myself as well. It's a business. We're in it to make money, of course, right? And if we don't have to give away the equity, why would we? So it could be much easier for me to raise capital from a lot of folks that want bonus depreciation, that want a chunk of equity. Well, you need to give away equity if you're going to give away bonus depreciation, but we haven't had to do it yet. Now, as I start to maybe go buy properties myself again, once I'm able to put some key people in seats so that I'm kind of removed from a lot of the day-to-day and kind of in every conversation and in every email, that might change a little bit just because I'll have a lot more room and, equity to be able to give away to a larger investor. But I haven't been seeking to try to connect with anybody quite just yet, but I have had a handful that have reached out that have just been curious about what I've been doing. And all of them said they'd be interested in having a conversation in the future as well.
So you're not necessarily going after institutional investors at this point, but you do have something that is for accredited investors. So I'd love to talk about Brew Borrow. What inspired you to start Brew Borrow Capital, and how does that platform bridge the gap between investors and operators?
Yeah, I really think that we started for two reasons. Number one, there's a lot of operators out there and they always need capital. I mean, people always need capital. Even if you're a seasoned investor and you have many doors, there can be points and times where you're just not liquid. You come across another smoking deal and it's like, man, I know Jason over at Brew Borrow Capital. I can't let this go, right? So it gives people another option that they have in their toolbox to be able to take down deals, right? And so I like that. I want to be able to help other people. And then on the other side, I'm having a lot of conversations already with folks for the suites, and we have one offering over here, and it's always nice. I'm sure, AJ, you'd agree. If you walk into a restaurant ever and it's like, what do you have? It's like, or can I have the menu? And it's like, well, sir, we've got steak. Well, do you have anything else? Nope, this is steak. Do you want it or do you not want it? Right. And so for me, I'm already having so many conversations with potential investors with regards to potentially investing with me anyway. So now I like the idea that I'm able to give a menu of options. So it's like, hey, this is what we do over here at the suite. A good fit for this is somebody who XYZ. This is what we're doing over here at Brew Borrow Capital. If this is a better fit for you over here, and then just kind of letting them decide what's the best fit for them. And I think anytime that you're approaching the conversation more from a consultative approach versus hey, this is what I have, it's received a lot better, and you have more options in your toolbox to give to folks to help them multiply their earnings as well. I will say though, quickly as well, when raising capital, just another quick tip. Number one, if you are looking to start raising capital for deals, always be talking about what you're doing online. It's like a billboard that's just always in front of people all the time. And even if you're just getting started out and you're starting to read books and listen to podcasts, just share those things, because you're taking the steps that other people that are on the sidelines are not taking yet. And so just because you're doing those things, you're becoming more influential than folks that aren't taking action yet. So just talk about those things, share what you've learned. But when having conversations specifically with investors as you're bringing capital into your deals, one of the things that I'm always focused on is raising capital. It's not like I find a deal and then I just pound my phone and go crazy trying to line up the capital. It's an every week, every day type thing and rhythm that I'm doing all the time. And the reason behind that is I would never have a conversation with somebody and say, well, I need your money now, or you don't have a chance to be a part of this, right? I'm not trying to say it's either now or never. It's always, hey, this is what we got going on. Happy to catch up for coffee with you. Well, we've got some deals in the pipeline here that we should be closing in the next 3 or 4 months. Thought of you. made a short list of people, know you're doing really well, you got some extra capital sitting around and you might be interested in working with us. Would you like me to move you to our short list? I would always approach it from just hey, warm up the conversation, catch up with someone, tell people what you're doing, then just ask for their permission to be placed on a short list, so that when the deal's ready, they've already given you permission to present it to them, versus getting the deal already and then just kind of trying to shotgun share with everybody that you know and then coming across as a salesperson.
And the more that you take on that conciliatory or the consultative frame, and the more and earlier that you do that in terms of asking questions, getting to know what it is that their goals are, because some people's goals are different. You said some people want income. They just want like a dividend and they want to live off of some of the investments that they're making. Some people are looking to offset taxes, and that's an entirely different kind of class of investor that is maybe looking for a different offering. And so the deeper those conversations are that you have with those individuals before you are presenting them opportunities, the better opportunities you can present that hit their box.
Yeah. I hate saying no to folks that I know they're looking for the depreciation, because I know I could be buying more things, right? But at the same time though, like sometimes you just have to be patient. You have to let time do its thing. And like most, I would say, folks that are really go-getters or just internally driven, it's like we always want the next thing, we want the next deal, like we want it to close, we want it to go. But sometimes you just gotta let time do its thing and just relax a little bit and just be patient and just know that it's all going to work out, and just kind of stay true to the path that you want to be on. And so I've got a lot of people that I know that do very, very well, that want to work with us at the Suites, but I just don't have the right offering for them yet, or the right opportunity. And so like they're in my CRM waiting to be queued up once I build out my team and I want to go buy facilities my own. Like I'll be giving them calls, because I will have equity and appreciation to be able to offer to them. But for the time being, it hurts sometimes to say no, but it just is what it is. And I'm not kind of veering off of that, because I know what I need to be focused on right now for the business.
So in terms of focus, sometimes even outside of focus, scaling a business requires being resourcefulness. Let's call it scrappiness. What's the scrappiest or most unconventional tactic you've used to close a deal or resolve an obstacle, either as you've been growing Brew and Borrow, or maybe it's as you've been growing the Suites or your painting business? I'd love to hear about some of the times that you were scrappy.
What's funny about that, and my social media manager has made a comment about this, and a few other people recently too. I'm kind of just like naturally, I don't use the word gifted because I don't view myself in that way, but like I don't view anything that I'm doing as like overly impressive or anything like that. I'm just doing what I know how to do, and I don't know any differently. So it's hard for me to like point to like a couple things to be scrappy, because like I'll turn around and I look at my day. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are out there like, holy crap, we got all that done. But like, I just do it. Like, and I don't like pay attention to it, I guess, if that makes sense, or like document, like how cool is that I got that done, and how, like, I keep moving forward. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's just like the journey is always filled with so many obstacles that are in your way. But no matter what happens, like you take the next step, and then you go again, and then you go again. And then eventually by the end of the year, you turn around and you look down and you're like, holy crap, I've climbed a lot of steps, right? And so I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I would say, like, if I had to point to something that helps me stay grounded, that helps remind me that pressure is a privilege, is just by rooting myself in gratefulness, like almost daily. I don't want to say every day, because there's some mornings that I miss it, young family, kids, but like every minute I spend 5-10 minutes with the Lord, reading a devotion, praying, and then after that another 5-10 minutes just trying to root myself in gratefulness, and really just kind of reminding myself that there's 7 billion people on the planet, and there is a lot of people in the world that would love to have the problems that I think are world ending right now in between my ears. Like, they would literally probably kill to have those problems that I think are like the worst thing in the world that day. And when you're reminding yourself of those things pretty regularly, it helps put things in perspective very, very quickly and easily. And I also very believe that the more grateful that you are, the world has a way of bringing you more things to be grateful for. And so I think that's probably like the biggest tool in my toolbox that I would recommend, is just to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes a day just trying to ground yourself and trying to remember that we're all telling ourselves that our personal journey is super, super, super important in the world. But like while it is, and while our intentions and while our actions do matter, we also tend to, present ourselves like it's the most serious thing in the world when we're confronted with problems and circumstances. And ultimately what I've found is like the chaos that gets created, or my stress level goes up, all based on the amount of urgency that I give to things. And when I start my day with gratefulness, I'm just reminded that like, hey, like if this deal falls through, who cares? I'll be fine. Like I don't want it to, right? But like if I don't close on this one for whatever reason, like it'll be okay. I'll go find another one. So I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Yeah, the sun will rise tomorrow, whether or not it's flipping the steel.
100%.
Yeah. Kevin is asking, what CRM do you use, or did you design your own based around your own model?
Yeah, so good question. So I recently had a friend of mine develop a Go High Level system for me. So we have a lot of automated follow-ups with folks that raise their hand and say that they want to look at a salon suite, and depending on the action that they take, the system automatically sends out, hey, I know life is busy, make sure you book your walkthrough right now. So we use Go High Level quite a bit. That's really the only tool that I use right now. And so that's another big gap in my company. To be quite honest with you, I'm not the best with tech and systems. So I love myself a good Excel spreadsheet. And so yeah, it's just good old fashioned Excel spreadsheet and Go High Level. And I'm trying to learn the Go High Level system right now. Actually, I just sent a message to the guy that helped me build it so I can better use it, to be honest. But yeah, I guess it was Kevin, right?
Yeah, Kevin Welsh. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it was Welsh. Okay, cool. What's up, Kevin? Yeah, man. I love Excel spreadsheets. I'll leave it at that. I need someone that can help come into my business and help me with that stuff for sure.
I was going to say, don't sell yourself short. I know you use AI too. I know you got a little bit of that in there.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned to prompt it pretty well, which has been helpful, right? But I mean, I'm actually bringing on a VA right now. I'm interviewing, I should say, a few candidates that were brought to me from a company that I'm working with to find some really good people that I can bring into the business to help with this type of stuff as well. So I'm excited for that too.
So reflecting on your career, what has been the most challenging deal that you've encountered so far, and what did it teach you about resilience in this space?
It's been the most challenging deal that I've done so far. Well, I don't know if it's the most challenging, but I had a really nice property under contract in Topeka, Kansas with a partner down there, and we weren't able to put it together in the end. And so there was a few factors. Number one, the sellers weren't willing to extend our DD period, which was unfortunate. We thought we had a pretty good rapport with the sell side agent, but for whatever reason that they weren't able to. But we had 3 banks looking at the deal. One of them did present us an offer. The other 2 declined, but the offer was like outrageous. It was like irresponsible. It was like, yeah, we'll be a part, but only if we become a millionaire off your deal. So we ended up punting on the deal altogether. So I think the lesson that I learned, I'm just remembering back to what I all had going on there. There was quite a few other projects that were just getting started out. There was a lot of other financing packets that we were putting together. We were trying to bring on new partners. I would have, in hindsight, and I've done this now, is like when I know that DD is about to expire, and after we've sniffed out the deal, we've had a few contractors out, and we know that we have a good feeling that this is going to get to the closing table, we need to start our financing packet and getting our requests out at least 45 days before the DD period ends. And I think on that deal, we were just late getting that done. And internally in my mind, I was assuming that we would be able to extend the DD phase, but we weren't able to. And so the lesson that I learned is to create a better system and process, and just like reminders that, hey, the DD phase is ending here. Don't rely on that being extended, even though it still bothers me that they didn't, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, it's just, I think it's important that you're on top of your dates in times when you're working through your due diligence phase, to make sure that you have a checklist that you work through for the different timelines. And so we started implementing that after that deal. But I mean, I guess things like that happen for a reason. That same partner and I, we came across a dentist office that we put an offer in on. And then I can't recall why it wasn't accepted. But anyways, our agent came back to us and said the property's about to get foreclosed on. And so we slashed our LOI by like $150K and just got it under contract with the same seller. And so, yeah, and the property, like it's already got plumbing to all the rooms because it was a dentist office. So it's going to be a lot lighter of a rehab budget. So yeah, like I guess it's a good thing that we didn't, that we weren't able to close on that one, because we wouldn't probably found this property.
It was win in the end.
Yep, exactly. It goes back to the patience, right? And so again, like I could have accepted that offer on that Topeka deal from that lender, but like I read through the loan commitment sheet that they gave us, and it was just like the rate, the terms, it was just not favorable at all. And so you could have forced it to the deal, then get another deal done and get it to the finish line. And with the model, like, you know, they're cash cows, right? The properties are, and so like the margin's there to do it, but it's still not the right thing to do, especially when you're bringing on investor capital.
Yep.
So yeah, we decided to punt on it. And so anyways, we got another deal now that we're working on together, and we're excited about it.
So I have two more questions. The first one, you can probably see this thing of books, this little bookshelf behind me.
Yeah.
I'm just really curious for you, what's one book that's deeply influenced your approach to real estate and entrepreneurship? I know you said back in the day, you listened to a ton of podcasts, read a lot of books, just went on an information, diet. What was one that really influenced you?
I think there's two that are top of mind. This one I read a long time ago, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I absolutely love that book. It's not really real estate related. I mean, there's a lot of concepts that are in growing a team and of course, gaining influence with folks. Like I love that book. I haven't picked it up in a while. But one more recently that I read, and I wish I would have read it a lot sooner, was 100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. Like that book is just like completely changing the way I look at my copywriting and how I'm making offers and what we're doing with our marketing and the value equation that he has in that book. Like I was always focused on the dream outcome and the perceived likelihood of the outcome, but I forgot about the effort and sacrifice and the time on the bottom of the equation. Like that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. How have I been missing that for so long? So that was really, really good, and I'm really excited to dive into the gap in the gain right now. I think that's the name of it. I've got it upstairs. Justin Cook, he's been posting a lot about that book recently. Love seeing his growth in real estate recently too. It's been a lot of fun to watch. He just closed on a large strip mall center down in Galesburg. Happy for him on that one. But yeah, no, I mean, I tend to focus more. It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. I have a hard time sometimes thinking through all the stuff that I did. I think a large part of that is because I'm always so focused on like where we're going next. Right. And I know while I sit down every day and I try to get myself grounded and rooted and grateful for the things that I have going on, there's another layer that I think I'm missing where it's like, hey, like you've done a pretty good job so far, Jay. Like give yourself a pat on the back. And so it's hard for me sometimes to accept compliments too, which is probably not surprising now that mentioned all that, but just kind of acknowledging the journey and the path that I've been on and some of the wins that we've had. Just kind of trying to do that and remembering that on a consistent basis is important without being so focused on what I'm working towards in the future.
Speaking of, I'd love to give you a chance right now. What's one win in the past, let's call it 5 years, that you're the most proud of?
Having my two daughters, yeah, and just seeing them grow up and seeing them start to think a little bit like dad and mom too. But mom and dad think a little bit differently sometimes on different topics. And so just seeing them, how they respond to adversity sometimes and just kind of like some of the one-liners that Anna will say, my oldest sometimes. And yeah, we just had a good conversation yesterday. Like she thought that mom and dad were talking about her and her friends and an interaction that may have happened. And so she got really worked up thinking that we were talking bad about one of her friends, which we weren't. But she's 9, and so her mind starts racing a little bit, and so she started getting a little worked up, and I just sat her down and just like, so Anna, like if something is bothering you or you're a little bit unsure, what should you do? She was like, ask a question. And I was like, atta girl. So like it's small stuff like that when you start to see them start to learn from you, and you see yourself in them so much sometimes too. Like I would definitely say that's what I'm most proud of.
That's awesome. And I'll give you kind of the last word to the folks that are watching. If you were to give them a piece of advice or words of wisdom, what would you share with the people that are listening today?
Yeah, I'm nothing special. Anybody can do what AJ and I are doing, growing their real estate portfolio, as long as you're committed to it and you surround yourself with people that are more tenured or farther along than you are, you can accomplish anything that you want in real estate. Like straight up. 2 years ago, before I joined Tim Brotz's legacy family, I just started to renovate our first Salon Suite location downtown Davenport. I had no vision of like trying to get to 50 locations in the next 5 years or 7 years. And, we're developing 9 different locations right now across the Midwest. And like a lot of it is just kind of like borrowing the confidence from the people in the room that I'm with, And so I'll never forget the first event I went to. It's like, the net worth of all these people, you hear their names and like, you talk to them and you're like, wow, they're very human. They're just like me. They pee and poop too. Wow, that's crazy, right? And they have challenges and stuff that they have going on in their lives as well. And they're willing to help you. They're willing to tell you things that they've learned, And so, I think just getting in that group and in that mastermind is really just unlock a lot of limiting beliefs. And I don't even know if it's limiting beliefs. They just expanded my thinking of what's possible. And I think all of us, we restrict ourselves sometimes in like what we know or what we think we know until we hear it from 2 or 3 or 4 other people that are just doing it at a 4, 5, 6,000 times better level than we are. And this may sound bad, but like if you're not having the results that you want right now, it's pretty simple. It's because you're not good enough yet. And a large part of that is just by getting around people. A large way to get around that is by, investing in yourself, of course, and, doing some reading, listening to podcasts. But I think what would really exponentially help the growth of anybody in any business, right? Or in athletics too, in any genre, is to get around people that are just better than you, that are more tenured, that you respect, that you admire, and just rub elbows with those people consistently. And that'll help you on your way.
Absolutely. And if people want to get around yourself, where can they find you?
Yeah, just feel free to search for me on any social media platform. I think my name's showing up there, Jason Cousineau. Feel free to friend request me, drop me a message. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. And you want to learn a little bit more about what we're doing with the suites, and you're a real estate investor that's not in one of the markets that we're currently developing in, and you're interested in maybe finding out a different and better way to castle on properties, feel free to drop me a message and we can potentially have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode of Capital Conversations. I hope you're walking away with actual insights, fresh ideas to take your real estate journey to the next level. A huge thank you to Jason Cousineau for sharing his incredible story and expertise tonight, from creative financing strategies to building a diverse portfolio and launching Brew Borrow Capital. Jason has truly shown us what it takes to succeed with focus and determination and a willingness to think outside of the box. So if you found value in tonight's session, make sure to like, share, follow so you don't miss the next episode. I go live every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, bringing you inspiring guests like Jason and practical strategies to help you build your wealth and grow your business. As always, feel free to reach out with your biggest takeaways or any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, Jay Smith, this has been Jason Cousineau, reminding you to stay curious, stay driven, and keep building towards your goals. See you next week on Capital Conversations. Take care, everybody.